Hello, Assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And I'm going to be back with some more rubbish because apparently, whatever is common sense or whatever is actually, plain old general knowledge, that is all rubbish. I mean, I was just looking at this vlog of this person who was, saying that this is the last time I'm ever going to visit London and what's happened to this place and all. And then everybody was in the comment section talking about the magical city of London in the 80s and the 90s and how, it's. And many people have talked about how in Canada and in the US and in the Western countries, pretending to be, oh, so we're just so poor. Just look at us, look at us, look at how pitiful we are. That we our government is deliberately, you know, creating the situation for us using foreigners and immigrants. Yeah. Okay. Number one, I actually agree with the first part that yes, your governments are deliberately creating this situation in which you are having a huge decay in your civilization, okay, in your society, in law and order situation. And I also do agree that yes, they are deliberately misdirecting you. This is where I'm now going to correct you here. Yes, they're using immigrants, but not the way you think they are. They are misdirecting you to focus on the immigrants so that they can get away with the actual crime that they're committing. And the fact that I've mentioned this in so many ways in my previous podcasts, saying that how stupid people are, that they keep on and on falling for the same trick over and over and over again. Remember the 9/11 charade where your own government, Americans, your own government, your own president was directly involved in the false flag operation just so that he could raise an attack. Basically, he wanted two things: to put surveillance, because there was a huge and heavy debate in which it was considered against the Constitution, against the Privacy Act, to put surveillance. But he wanted that because that is the first step to controlling a country, the first step towards easily inducing a country towards becoming a police state. And number two, to force other allies and other countries to follow suit in going against the Privacy Act and adding surveillance so that the American government can hack into other countries' surveillance in order to track other people, in order to check other people, in order to pick other people, in order to kidnap other people from other countries however they like. Okay? Remember the one world order that the American government has been so hell-bent on making this whole world come to, Yeah, the mission that the British left the Americans with, we need to recolonize the world. The whole world must come under one world order. Yeah, which they almost kind of had it in, till the 40s. And then when everything started to break down, it still somehow or the other on a cultural essence continued till the 70s. After which then all the other ex-colonies decided to try and regain their identity. Not without a lot of obstacles and interruptions by the Western countries. And so now here we are, where the American government, number two step was to be able to attack all those countries, like they attacked Iraq. It's amazing. I mean, I find that very, very funny that according to them, 9/11 was an attack that was staged by Saudi Arabia, and yet not a single hair of any Saudi was disturbed in the aftermath. But Pakistan was disturbed. Pakistan, a South Asian country that had nothing to do with the Middle East. But it was a Muslim country and it was an important geopolitical country to the Americans and to the British. Because after all, again and again, I have to remind you people, they need Pakistan's soil to be able to control the warfare that they wish to begin with China and Russia. And then, number two, the attack on Iraq by creating the false narrative of WMDs. And after the whole attack was staged on Iraq, after the people they wanted to kill were killed, after they had stolen from the treasury and from the houses and from the museums of Iraq, oh yeah, after they'd looted and plundered to their fill, after they got the resources that they literally went for, basically the reason why they attacked Iraq in the first place. Yeah, then oopsie, yeah, sorry, our bad there. We made a mistake. There was no WMDs. Oh, we need to apologize to Iraq. Yeah. And where were all of you? You people who are talking about how your governments are controlling the whole situation and the immigrants are doing everything. Yeah. I wonder why the Western governments are opening up to immigration and causing chaos for us. Yeah. Yeah. You do realize that the reason why your governments are always opening up to immigrants is because your governments are still looting and plundering their countries. Yeah. They're looting and plundering our countries, okay? They are looting and plundering our resources. That is why they're always opening up to immigrants, to immigration and immigrants. And the way you people talk, you do realize that until just last year, Pakistan had the largest number of illegal immigrants and refugees in the world. In the whole freaking world. You Western governments with your open stance on immigration were not even half. You weren't even half the number of Pakistan's immigrants. And your countries are huge, geographically speaking. Canada, America, Australia, you're huge. And let me remind you once again, how dare you call yourselves natives? I literally read a comment where somebody was talking about how the government, was trying to control the natives by, influxing the immigration. Excuse me? Who's the native here? None of you are natives. You are occupiers. You occupied those lands. You're not natives. Just by calling yourselves natives, it doesn't make you natives. Just like how the Israeli settlers can keep on calling themselves natives of Palestine, it doesn't make them the natives of Palestine. Okay? Israel doesn't exist. Just because Israel claims to exist and because they've made a document in which they've called themselves Israel, but they physically do not exist. Israel as a country physically does not exist, so Israelis do not exist. You are simply occupiers of an existing land called Palestine, which is a land that physically exists. It's a nation. It's a nation that is not just centuries, but thousands of years old. Okay? America is considered a young country even by countries like ours. Countries like Korea, they refer to America as a young country because even though Korea may have gotten divided into two different countries, but essentially Korea has a hugely long history. The same is with Japan. The same is with India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. We may have divided into three different countries, but we are essentially, even as different countries, we have centuries old worth of cultures. Like if you look at Pakistan, even as a separate entity on its own, because remember, India was never one. India was made one by the Muslim rulers. The Muslim empire made India one country. which the British came and couldn't even handle that, because that's how the only way they know how to rule any country is divide and rule, which is opposite to the Muslim rulers. Theirs was unite and rule, and never divide and rule. And that is the essential difference here. And so, Pakistan has its own identity even prior to being a part of India, in which when Pakistan was a completely separate independent state too in ancient times, when India was not one and every state was a separate independent state ruled by their own kings and their own rulers. And even if you push that aside, just looking at the civilizational aspect of it, Pakistan is home to the Indus civilization. Pakistan is home to Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. It's not India. No, it's Pakistan. Pakistan is home to the ancient civilizations of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. What does that tell you? We are, again, as a civilization, even, we are older than America. What is America? What is Australia? What is Canada? Occupied lands in which genocide was committed. Look at the history of the Western world. This is the real face and the real history of the Western world. You people who are talking and lamenting about how your Western leaders are open to immigration, you people are immigrants. And not even that, you people are occupiers. You're invaders. You are those who committed genocide and you took over those lands, those huge ass lands. They're so huge that no matter how many immigrants you keep on getting in, you will still have enough space for yourselves. Because there is still so much land that is not even properly populated in Canada alone. Forget America and Australia. And you dare to talk about the influx of immigration, and you dare to talk about why your governments are open to immigration? I mean, no wonder there's genocide going on in Palestine. You have a history of committing genocide. How can you even talk about immigrants, or how can you talk about freedom, or how can you talk about human rights? You are the very, very embodiment of encroachment on human rights. Where are the actual Native Americans? You're calling yourself natives? How dare you? Where are the actual natives? You ethnically cleansed them through genocide. In their own land, you just allowed them a bit of their land, called it a reservation, and caged them in. They're supposed to be ruling that land, not you. Look at the Aborigines in Australia and New Zealand. They're supposed to be ruling the land, not you. Why are they treated like second-class citizens in their own land? Why are they treated like minorities in their own land? You want to talk about immigration and immigrants? Go back to where you came from. You want to talk about people going back to their native land, and you want to talk about tight immigration laws. You need to practice what you preach. All of you white guys, take your white asses back to Europe, because that is actually where you're from. You're not Americans, you're not Australians, you're not Canadians. You are Europeans, and you need to go back to Europe. You go back to Europe, and everybody else is going to go back to their country. I can guarantee you that. You just take the first step. Don't be bloody hypocrites. Get your white asses off that occupied land that you're living in, calling yourselves natives, God, and go back to your country. Your countries. Let's see how your countries can fit you in Europe. That small-assed continent that you're bemoaning. Go and try to fit back in there, and take those Jewish settlers with you, because they're originally Europeans too, Tell them to take their asses back to Europe too. Everybody go back to where you originally came from, and then you would actually look nice telling other immigrants to go back. And you would actually look nice complaining about natives being controlled by their governments through immigration. Seriously. As I said, you got that part right. Your government is controlling you. You are already being controlled. Your statements, your comments are proof of that. The fact that you're so stupid that you are once again falling for the exact same trap that you kept on and on falling since World War One, you know, is that the government is controlling your thoughts. The government is telling you, oh, look, the immigrants, go after them. While the government at the right at the back, they are getting done what they need to get done, which is communicating with all their minions in our countries, all those fifth columnists and all those criminals that they've shoved up here to rule over us in all our countries, all those traitors that they call assets that they've put in our countries, they are telling them to do the same to us as they're doing to you, which is create chaos and control because they want the one world order. I mean, the obsession of the Western world with the one world order. You talk about human rights, you talk about liberation, you talk about freedom, and you have none of it. You have none of it. And your governments want none of it. This is just an illusion, a bubble that they've kept you in while they're pretending that, they're all about freedom, but they have nothing to do with freedom. They are colonizers. These are colonizing nations. How can they talk about freedom when they believe in one world order? How can they try to talk about how Muslims or other religions are encroaching upon their culture when they literally stole the Islamic system and incorporated it in order to make you people civilized? And then, as if that wasn't enough, they decided to implement the Islamic laws and then they decided to call it Western laws. Again, even that wasn't enough. They decided to put you people against the Muslims while claiming that the Muslims want everybody, to follow the Sharia, the book of which doesn't even exist, by the way. Again, Sharia is just legal jurisprudence that follows precedents like any other legal system, in which a foundation is put or a foundation is set, after which you just need to keep on, working on the laws according to common sense and precedents, which is again what the Western world is doing, because they have taken the foundation from that same Sharia that they're talking smack about. And then, as I said, they're trying to claim that Muslims or other people, other nations, other immigrants, oh, they're all about, they're trying to force their culture and their lifestyle on you. Yeah. Who's talking about one world order right here? I don't see the Muslims talk about one world order. I don't see even you know, I don't even see the Hindus and the Sikhs talk about one world order. I'm only seeing two religions talk about one world order, the Christians and the Jews. They're the only people I see here talking about one world order. So what is that one world order that you want? You want that the whole world should follow one system. The whole world should have only one ruler, basically. The whole world should follow what you want them to do. So basically, you're the ones forcing the world to change their laws to accommodate your ideology, but you're blaming those countries for forcing their ideologies on you. Can you even can me seriously, can you even understand that while even you're listening to it? Can you even does that even make any sense? you know you are the ones who want to incorporate the one world order, and then you are the ones that are trying to say that other religions and other countries are trying to force you to live according to them. You're the ones who are right now trying to put pressure on African countries and Asian countries that they should now suddenly make bills on LGBTQ, and that they should allow same sex marriage, and that they should create a wave of LGBTY. You want it, you're most welcome to it. The whole point of having different countries with different orders, different laws, different legal systems is people are free to pick and choose which system they want to live in. Those who want to live in an LGBTQ friendly environment, they will choose a country that is friendly to that. Those who do not will choose a country that is not friendly to that. Those who want a perfectly safe and secure environment will choose a country that provides that. Those that want an environment in which there's crime riddled, they will go to a country that has no laws concerning any crimes whatsoever, right? I mean, within America alone, you have Las Vegas, which is supposed to be out of all jurisdiction, and anything and everything that is illegal otherwise in the rest of the country is legal right there. What does that tell you? So, why do you want to force other countries to have the same laws that you do, or to change their constitutions according to what suits you, or to follow your ideology, or I mean, what I'm going to say is, the question that you need to be asking the Western leaders is, why are you so obsessed with the one world order? Why can't you just let other countries do whatever they want to do, and instead allow freedom of movement for people to choose where they want to be? Those who want to be in a country that is all about family, and that is all about moral values, and that is all about strict laws, and that is all about justice, they can go to those countries. Those that want to go to countries that is all about, the freedom to do whatever the heck it is that you want to do, regardless of the laws and regardless of anything, and that the laws should in fact accommodate your lifestyle, they can go to those countries. This has always been a problem that I've had, with the Western world, the Western culture, the Western mindset, that they're so ignorant that they have never paused to ask that question from their governments, that what is your obsession with the one world order? How can you talk about freedom and liberation and about, choice, when you are forcing the whole world, to strip itself of freedom of choice and of, personal expression? You're forcing the whole world to lose its own identity and to conform to your identity, so that you should all be one freaking world order. Yeah. That's the question that you people need to be asking. You, instead of very easily accommodating your governments by saying, okay, the governments are pointing us towards the immigrants, let's go run after the immigrants. The thing about Pakistan is, as I said, until last year, Pakistan has been number one. It has had the largest number of illegal immigrants and refugees in the world. And obviously, they were Afghanis. And despite the fact that Pakistan is very small geographically speaking, considering the amount of population it's housing, considering the fact that people did grumble every now and then about it, but you know what? We are so much more mature and so much more accommodating, and we actually have more common sense, surprisingly, here than the Western world, than the whole Western world put together. And even than the Middle East and other countries, come to think of it. The people of Pakistan have more endurance, more hospitality, more patience, more common sense. Literally, it took us 70 years to sit up and then request the Afghanis that, can you please go back to your country now, because we are literally bursting to the seams. America is not bursting, neither is Canada, neither is Australia. Nobody there you can still accommodate a lot of people and still have a lot of land that is left unpopulated, uncultivated, undeveloped. Not so much here. And our governments literally paid the Afghanis. Can you imagine? Our government literally paid the Afghanis to send them back home, to help them to settle. And it is true that a lot of our crime rate increased because of the Afghanis, but we never blamed them. Why? Because we knew that if they are committing crimes, so are our own people. The only reason we started blaming the Afghanis regarding crime rate was basically smuggling, because that is what the Afghanis do: smuggling drugs and weapons. And obviously, flour. Flour from Pakistan to Afghanistan. You know, it became a huge problem. Again, that wasn't even much of a problem, to be honest. Smuggling flour, no, not a problem. But weapons and drugs, huge problem. Huge problem. Because that was, and number two, getting Pakistani passports and then traveling the world as Pakistanis when you're not Pakistanis. Because those Pakistani passports were essentially fake. And the fact that they were taking the help of government officials using Nadra to literally make those fake passports and get them attested as real by government servants using that clout, that is what infuriated the people. You know, why are you using and it didn't infuriate the people. It's not that the people went against the Afghanis either, not even then. No, they went against their own government. That how the hell can you create fake passports for illegal refugees and immigrants and then have them travel all over the world as Pakistanis when they're not Pakistanis? And actually, a lot of the crimes that they committed in other countries using Pakistani passports, that is what really peed us off as well. Because then people were like, oh, another Pakistani is caught doing this, another Pakistan. And they're not even Pakistanis, they were Afghanis, for crying out loud. That is what really, really triggered us. And still, you did not see a single incident in which a Pakistani would call out an Afghani or shout to an Afghani that go back home, go back to where you... No. In fact, if anything, Pakistanis would look at anybody who would even try to grumble about the Afghanis as if, are you insane? How scandalous of you. How dare you talk about them like that? You know, how dare you? You know, literally, it was literally like that. It was like, you just can't think about it. I mean, so yeah, I think that's why as Pakistanis, yeah, we do have the right to criticize other people when they talk about immigrants, no matter what nation they come from, and when they talk about security and all, because Pakistan has actually faced all of that and still never said a word. Not a word. It's only when things became so out of hand that we decided that no, we need to stop, because we literally cannot afford another influx, you know. And we allowed those Afghanis who settled in Pakistan for a certain number of years to easily attain a genuine Pakistani citizenship that was offered by our government, you know. And it's only those that we could no longer accommodate that we had to send back. And again, our government did that in a very polite, very nice way, that they literally paid those people money to help them settle. Did your Western governments do anything of the sort for any of the immigrants that they had to deport? No. Not a single instance of it can be found in the history of your countries. So don't talk to us about immigrations and crime rate. We as Pakistanis know, we have the common sense to know that it doesn't entirely go hand in hand. Crime rate has nothing much to do with immigrants as much as it has to do with the law enforcement agencies and the government. And I would also say that no matter how bad our governments have been, I think I can say that mashallah, mashallah. I guess we really are blessed that even our governments knew how low not to stoop, that even they never even once tried to use the Afghan immigration situation for politics. It's weird. It's really weird, come to think of it, but they have never ever used that the way your governments keep using immigration as a debate for election campaigns. As I said, it's because you see, you people are new to the whole concept because you don't even know what it really means, what ethnic integration really means. Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh have a better clue of it. But even better than India and Bangladesh actually is Pakistan with that clue. Although I guess we could say India too in a way, is because again, centuries of being mixed with various ethnicities. Because remember, we were never one country anyway, we were all different states. And so we have different ethnicities. So even when we were joined into one country, into one united country by the Muslims, all it did was that it made all of us different ethnic groups to live together, to integrate with each other. So, multi ethnic and racial integrations occurred throughout centuries. So, this is why, as I mentioned once in, I think I mentioned it in a blog or in one of my books. Maybe I've even mentioned it in the podcast, but literally, we people of the subcontinent are already in the future when it comes to, you know, how you sit and think, oh, how would America be in the future with all the fusion of all the various ethnicities and races, how the future Americans would look like, multiracial backgrounds in the mix. Yeah, we are that future already because we've had centuries of all that mixing. We are already a product of multi racial and ethnic integration. We already have that background. So I can say that, we're already there where you are still thinking about, where you still need to be. We're already there. So, in terms of, integration of various races and ethnic groups, yeah, accomplished eons ago. And you cannot even live with each other in peace today after 100 years. I think that in itself, says a lot, as I keep on saying. The fact that America in 100 years has still not learned to live with all the diverse groups, even though America brags about being diverse. And the same is with Canada. And, as the Canadian Prime Minister is very right when he says that, yeah, no, the immigrants have actually played a crucial and positive role in the development of the country. He's absolutely right because he knows. He's actually in that position to know. And he would be a liar if he said otherwise. And I guess that's why we need to give him a little more respect compared to the Americans and the Europeans. Their leadership is absolute pits when it comes to that, because they literally are lying through their mouths when they try to take up the issue of immigration and immigrants and consider it, to be a huge problem, you know, because it's not. Because the American government and the European governments know that they're literally living off of these immigrants. Your whole revenue, your whole country's economy is literally running on these immigrants. Remove all of them and you will collapse. I know this is something you don't like to listen to and it's not something you like to hear, but let me tell you this for a fact. You people are nothing on your own. I'm sorry, but that's exactly the reason why your governments are always so intent on waging wars with other countries and always hell bent on one world order and recolonization, is because you want to steal. You want to continue to steal from those countries, from our countries. England literally runs on foreign students and immigrants. Without them, England has nothing financially, and it has no real resources. It has nothing to offer its people. This is why it has always been stealing from other countries, and this is why it entered into colonizing other countries. And the same as with the rest of Europe. I'm sorry, but when you talk resources, you really are lacking very badly compared to Asia and compared to Africa. And this is why you went all the way to America and Canada and Australia. Again, resources. And because lucky for you and unlucky for the original natives of these lands, they were so few in number and the lands were huge. And that is how you managed to occupy those lands. And lucky for us and unlucky for you, our lands were hugely populated, even though we had large landscapes, but you know we had equally large numbers of population, so you could not occupy us properly. You could not infiltrate our lands properly. But unfortunately for the Palestinians, you managed to grab a bit of land. You managed to sneak in to start the sale of land, which was against their law. But you just managed to grab hold of that loophole, work on it. You sneaked in. Because that is the only thing that the Europeans can do. They have a history where they are cowards. They can only sneak in and occupy from within by dividing and causing fights and chaos. They cannot fight like men or like warriors. They talk about fair play, but the Europeans, the British, they actually have no concept of fair play. They don't even know the meaning of fair play. They like to talk about fair play as if they're all about fair play, but they really have no freaking idea about fair play. Fair play is what the other nations did. They sent messages to the other countries telling them that they were going to attack them. They literally gave them warnings and then they attacked. They actually gave their enemies the time to create a defense line. That's fair play. That's not what the Europeans did throughout history. They were such cowards that they literally sneaked into every country pretending to be traders. And then they started working their way in. And that is the sad truth of the Western world. Even today, if you just start removing your immigrants and if you strip yourselves off of the Islamic law and the Islamic welfare system and the Islamic social system that you have adopted, you will collapse. It's a fact. It's an actual fact. I don't care whether you like it or not, but it's a fact. And it's a fact that your politicians and your judicial system are fully aware of. It's a fact that your bureaucracy is fully aware of. The fact that you're literally living, your countries are literally balancing themselves on these immigrants and on international students and on tourists, and on looting and plundering from these very immigrants' countries. Yeah. That is how you're surviving. You're barely surviving. And the fact that America literally killed the actual natives, yeah, the American government, the American establishment, which is originally British, Spanish, French, these people, when they occupied the various parts of America and Canada, the reason why they resorted to genocide was again because they found a lot of resources. And even now, the reason why the American government is constantly trying to attack the reservation where the original Native Americans are living is again because the American government wants to keep on fracking so that it can get petroleum, and that falls under the reservation jurisdiction out of the American government jurisdiction. The fact that these Jews who call themselves Israelis, the fact that they have been looting and plundering from other countries, the fact that they've been stealing water in the name of pure Nestle bottled water, they're stealing that water because they're taking it without permission from a particular Amazonian river, and that there was a suit filed against them. All these little facts should tell you where you, the Western world, really stand. And if these little hints still do not get the truth into your fat brains, I would suggest you actually do a bit of research. Study your history, right? Before you just display your ignorance in front of the whole world, literally saying that your government is controlling the whole situation, and then going and doing exactly what your government is controlling you to do. Misdirection. Your government is pointing you towards one direction while it's getting its act done in the other direction. It's all smoke and mirrors. Well, let's hope you've learned something from this and that you will actually go and hit the books. You see, that's why education is an obligation in Islam. And that is why it is discouraged in Christianity. Yeah. Because Christianity, the priests are all about, sheep. They want sheeples. But in Islam, we want independent thinkers. And this is why we say the post-colonial Muslim countries have regressed, because they left the essence of the Islamic teaching. They left the essence of what made the Islamic empire or the Muslim empire, the golden period, because in Islam, you cannot be sheeple. You must observe. You must question. You must investigate. You must do research. You must be independent as a thinker. You must explore. You must question everything. You must verify every fact. You must confirm, reconfirm. And that is why during the Muslim rule, a lot of progress was made in all those countries that were under the Islamic empire. That is why those countries were developed countries. I know the Western world has set these weird ass standards according to which America is the richest country, and according to which the Western world is a developed world and they have developed countries. But in my book, in my eyes, you're nowhere near developed. If you have ignorant people who don't know history or who don't have general knowledge, then your GDP is just on paper. You still have a poverty line, you still have homelessness, you still have high crime rate. How are you a developed country? You're not. In my book, a developed country is a country in which everybody in that country is enjoying a certain standard of life and nowhere below, where the government and the people are equally rich, and where there is zero crime rate, where there is law and order, where there is justice. That is a developed country where everybody can afford everything. You're nowhere near that, my friends. Your economy is fucked. Your social lives are fucked. You know, your whole welfare system has gone to the dogs. Why? Because your governments, they keep on stripping you off of all those rights that you thought you took for granted. All those rights that your government pretended to give you, and now they're basically taking it away. Because now, basically, your government is actually controlling the resources as well. Your governments are hoarding resources, and they're telling governments like ours who are under them to do the same because they're preparing for war. And my dear, during war, you people, you're not important. No, it's that 1% that is working towards that one world order. They're the important people. So they need all those resources. You don't. Your lives, black or white, they don't matter. And this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.